Now welcome along to the football show. Latest in the Champions League with 55 minutes on the clock. 0-0 still between Manchester City and Atletico at the Etihad. Manchester City have a free kick in a very interesting area, which is saved very well. It was a good strike by De Bruyne, low and hard, down to the keeper's left, saved, and Atletico come away. So 0-0, 55 minutes on the clock. Meanwhile, over in Lisbon, Benfica 1, Liverpool 2 is where we are. Liverpool were 2-0 up in this game. Konate on 17 minutes and then Mane on 34 minutes, but Núñez has just pulled one back for Benfica on 49 minutes. So 2-1 Liverpool, 0-0 at the Etihad. Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent here in studio. Hello.
Hi Joe, how are things?
Very well. The podcast listeners will have just heard Miguel Delaney talking about his trip to Qatar. As much as anything, struck by the size of Qatar.
Yeah, no, I found it interesting, alright, yeah. And I was in touch with Miguel over the weekend as well, just asking what the crack was over there, I suppose. And yeah, like there's different, I've heard different ones of Yorkshire being used and Limerick and different sort of geographical things. And I don't think I was struck by in your chat, and it is the experience. And I think I would have covered the same World Cups Miguel has in terms of starting in South Africa. And I mean, this one is, don't need to go over old ground, but at the same time you need to keep referencing old ground as well too. Like, just, you know, it's well known how disgraceful it is. It's going there, and it's madness. But it is also true that, like, FIFA and the organisers in this, particularly with the ludicrous wealth here, they always find a way. I even think some of the concerns about accommodation and all this, I feel like Qatar, this is such a PR job for them. They do not want images of, like, fans, I don't know, double booked in tents or something, do you know what I mean? Or like, you know, their accommodation doesn't exist when they get there. I'm pretty sure that's down the list of what they want, you know, and they'll probably just build like sort of soulless stopgaps to deal with it, you know. Yeah.
Are you going?
Oh, I actually don't know at this stage, to be honest. It's I've gone to the last couple, so I'm sure it'll be considered. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be considered. I do believe, like, I know Miguel sort of would have talked about this. I do believe it's important to go. I know people would say, and he would have got some stick over it, and reporters would get stick over it. They'll say, well, why don't you boycott it? You know, but to me, like that, you know, with all due respect to any journalist out there, them not going isn't really serving any purpose, because it's the World Cup and it's going to be covered. You know, it's going to be, you know, it will go on anyway. And I think going there and telling the stories, and as he did, he mentioned, like, chat to some of the workers and chat to people. I think, to me, that's, you know, what probably the journalist story is. I think if you were to go there and sort of ignore all the other stuff and just go on there and just report the football only and ignore it, then that's not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, to tell the story of it, if people are sort of talking about the sort of the human impact of it, I think going there to highlight that is more beneficial than not. But that's just my personal opinion. I understand other people might have different views on that.
I would tend to agree with you. It's a television event. Realistically, you going there and writing a few match reports is not going to make or break the World Cup. You going there and writing some pieces that should be written and that the authorities don't necessarily want told and maybe are shared because they're of worth, that's more significant.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, of course, like, you know, I would look back on it now, and I know you were in Brazil. I would have gone to Russia in particular. Like, Russia is such sort of, you're almost examining your conscience around it now in some respects, because it does happen, and this is what you have to be careful of. Like, you definitely go there, and no matter how cynical you can be, there's a tendency to be a small bit seduced by it and to find the good side of it. And it's like a lot of the sort of sports washing that happens, it's a more so unconscious as opposed to deliberate, if you know what I mean. Like, you're sort of, think about it, like you would have had your eyes open to a lot of things in Russia, but at the same time, it's you know, you find yourself almost joshing a small bit about elements of the the Russia games and the theatre of it and how the crowd behaved and stuff. But when you think of it now, it was cosmetic exercise. I remember the atmosphere for the Russia-Spain game, the one where they knocked them out in penalties, and it was there was something mad about being in Russia that night afterwards, in Moscow that night afterwards, where you had like these impromptu scenes of celebration on the street that the authorities weren't even sure how to deal with this, because this doesn't necessarily happen. But like within the stadium, it was quirky. Like it was, there clearly wasn't Russian football fans that were attending. It wasn't like the CSK Moscow or the Spartak Moscow heads. In fact, I think we'd heard that I think they'd removed a lot of the more hooligan elements or the more hardcore elements from the competition. They weren't there, and there was fans that they were applauding at the wrong times. They were applauding at like random intervals, like a flurry of excitement for like an attacking throw-in, but then muted response for a free kick in a threatening position. Just a couple of little things like that, maybe not that specifics. And I remember like almost making a bit of a laugh of it, going, this is typical. But when you think about it now, you look at it a completely different perspective, and you think, we're sort of laughing about the theatre of like, this is just all almost like it's all a charade in some respects, and then you see the Luzhniki being used for like a Putin rally now, and you're thinking, there's your brand new sort of on-spec FIFA stadium with a perfect platform and stage being used for something else. So I think it's one of those, Brazil, like, you would go and you'd see sort of poverty, and you'd hear stuff about the local police and things that would happen. But while you were there, they shut down a lot of that.
Sure. And
made it reasonably okay. And then your coverage maybe is influenced in some way by what you've experienced, and you have to look beyond it sometimes, but sometimes you do get caught up in it.
Yeah.
I can't see Qatar being as charming that people will go down that route. I've made this point before, like Russia still has a football tradition, football fans, the game means something when you go around the place. Brazil obviously, so the attraction was obvious, but this one it's hard to see that.
One last point. Russia and Qatar I'd separate in terms of their objectives. I feel like under Putin, it's all just a massive flex. The Sochi Olympics, hosting the World Cup, it's just to show Russia is once again a superpower of the world in various facets. Whereas Qatar seems to be more of the quote-unquote sports washing motivation, in so much as I can tell. I'd love to know what their motivation is.
Yeah, I think though for Putin, there was something about being on stage with Infantino or his relationship with Thomas Bach or whatever. Like that was, it's a form of it's affecting how people see him.
Legitimised him.
Yeah, I think to some degree. Yeah,
to some degree, he had annexed Crimea and invaded Georgia and was clearly a dictator. So I don't think Gianni, given the high five, convinced anyone otherwise. No,
true, but I suppose it makes it in parts of the world who weren't doing their reading into that. Wasn't there we're not completely off topic today, but wasn't there like a German politician today speaking about how they were admitting their mistakes, that they'd sort of fallen into the trap of like believing like a softer stance towards Russia was the right way to go. And I think some of the diplomatic posturing they did got people into a line of thought of thinking, that's just, the Qatar one is just so obviously blatant. Like, Qatar is nothing really, what I mean, in the sense of, as I said, you can explain away the Russian one in some shape or form, because there's a history of football where you go around the country, like, and you go to places where, there's a history going back to to the history of the game, like, World Cups in the 60s and mentioned, Lev Yashin, and like, you can find there's a story there you can latch onto. You go to, I was in like Kazan, like Rubin Kazan, and these clubs that have existed for a long period of time. I mean, Qatar, as you said, it's not even. In some ways, in sports, like sports watching is what it is, but in other ways, it's just an obscene show of wealth to show that we can make this happen too. Like sports washing is the term that's used, and that's correct. But I mean, are a lot of people is it changing their perception of Qatar? Really, I don't even know that it is. It's just more like, well, we just know that it's there because this is that's what they do.
That was the question I was going to ask. I would think it's backfired here.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the argument around how it's covered, isn't it? If like, do they think that once it came around that people would sort of get on with it and ignore that. Or you see some like strange stuff. You see that they're clearly trying to get on board with some. You see people out there on trips, like you see Beckham, right, is doing his thing, but I've even seen like some supporters and stuff from various countries in the world being brought out there, and they've laid out the red carpet, but it's not gonna they're gonna be sort of laughed out of town. I think some of those campaigns. I don't think people are going to go there and they go, actually, now that we got here, it's very different. I don't think that's going to be. As I said, that has happened in previous World Cups. I've probably done a bit of it myself at times. In some ways, you end up falling for it. I just can't see anyone going there to Qatar and suddenly starting to write, well, actually, now we're here, it's not as bad as they say.
Plus, it's been 6 years of almost unprecedented bad press.
Yeah.
Even if everybody has an okay month, and even if it goes reasonably well, and even if rainbow flags aren't confiscated and the accommodation situation is reasonably okay and alcohol is served and people have a good time, I'm still not sure that will overshadow the 6-7 years of bad press. I don't think it will. So I would think privately the Qataris are horrified at the way this whole thing has been received again and again and again, and thought that was illustrated over the weekend in Qatar when they took a far more aggressive stance to any question, as if they're a bit fed up with having to gently, softly apologise for their cultural beliefs, which, in many instances we find totally unacceptable, but that they're their cultural beliefs. And I think they have given up now apologising and speaking of progress. They are now saying, you can all be very, very quiet. Gareth Southgate, educate yourself, is what the guy said.
Yeah.
And I think that is going to be
the Norwegian
FA executive. So I think that's going to be their policy for the next 6 or 7 months. But I think I look at this, and I was making the point to Miguel, and we'll move off this now because we'll be talking about this for months and months more, and we have done already on numerous occasions. But sports washing in this kind of instance, I think it's just backfired. I used the parallel of Father Ted and Dougal outside the cinema. All it has served to do for huge swathes of people is highlight the issues with Qatar. Did you know about the kafala system in any great depth before?
Well, when they were awarded it, but not. I've heard your discussion earlier. It has highlighted. Now, this is the thing, by the way, that FIFA will say too, in a certain way, in a different, they will frame it in a different way. But this is why FIFA will say that this is a force for change. And bringing it here is allowed to allow them to maybe soften their stance around some issues. It's
in a way, we shouldn't even make that point, because 16 of the 22 FIFA executives have been investigated or else found guilty of fraud.
I know.
There is no FIFA logic here.
This is going to be the defence. It's like, well, isn't it? It's like the Saudi Arabia stuff. Well, now look at they've made certain they've made certain concessions around letting women do particular things. It isn't that great, and that's the way that it will go.
No one's listening to FIFA though.
No, well, I mean, FIFA, people, everyone knows what FIFA are. I don't think that opinion is going to be changed by anything. But I was interested. I think Miguel has made the point. I thought some interest. I know we want to move on from this, but Miguel made the point that Qatar actually are uncomfortable with some of their Western media supporters that sometimes talking about how great things are. They're actually a bit uncomfortable with that. That they have the. I thought that was an interesting point he's made, that
like Richard Keys.
I think the suggestion is they're not mad on some of that. Some of them being the spokespeople for that, because maybe how they get pilloried for it. Maybe it's something he can broaden out again in future, and that is definitely something that I found quite interesting. But there is going to be a broader debate and discussion around it closer to the time. But I just don't see. I take your point about it backfiring, but and then the other thing, Barney Ronay's point to weekend. Sorry, I lost my train of thought brief. The Barney Ronay piece, that Qatar at the moment, of course, the reason that they're so emboldened and they're so confident is because of the situation with Russia, ironically enough, and people need Qatar now. How these things gain momentum is that political power and government in the various countries get on board behind a campaign against some kind of boycott or stand or something. But people now need Qatar, for their gas, and as a result, they're suddenly not too willing to sort of rock the boat too much, and that's what Qatar are thinking. That's probably part of where their stance comes from. It's like, well, let's stand tall and proud because we're in a good place in the world right now. People need us.
Yeah. 2-1 Liverpool away to Benfica, 66 minutes on the clock. Still 0-0 Man City and Atletico 0-0. Pep won't be loving this.
Well, a couple of times since just after half time, like Atletico had two really good counter attacks and really good opportunities. And I've seen people in discussion make the point that as we watch City score,
oh, what a goal! Oh, it's brilliant. Man City 1-0
they've
up.
really had to. I mean, it's De Bruyne is just he's amazing really on a good day. But the point was being made that like, sometimes it's just far easier for City, even against good Premier League sides, to get space, and that no Premier League team defends like Atletico in the manner that they do, with the intensity to be able to deliver it.
Well, this was no room situation. Phil Foden, we'll see now in the replay. It was De Bruyne who scored from the right hand side, low, halfway between goalpost and right hand side of the penalty area, maybe in line with the 6-yard box, but it's Atletico camped, and it's Foden who gets the ball, and he's got 2-3 touches. He's got 3 or 4 Atletico players around him and just slides it down through the legs of an Atletico player, slides it ahead of him into De Bruyne's path. He makes a diagonal run onto the ball and then finishes first time side-footed into the far corner low. It's just a high-class goal. 2 class players.
Foden just come on, because I know we didn't. I'm trying to think that we saw him sort of a second ago. I know we were in discussion, but I think I'm not sure how recently he was introduced. Yeah, he's just on 2 minutes. I think that's pretty much Foden's first touch.
Wow.
To create that. So
I wondered
the power of the bench.
I wondered was Foden being rested in so much as he can Champions League time for the Liverpool game.
The weekend.
He has been a real thorn in Liverpool's sides in the last couple of Man City Liverpool games.
Yeah, you'd wonder. I mean,
see why that was a touch of class.
I'm just looking at they made a treble change. So it was Grealish, Foden, and Gabriel Jesus for Sterling, Mahrez, and Gundogan. I mean, you just say the names, and it's like that's the power that they have.
Yeah.
But you would imagine. I know it's Tuesday to Sunday, so like you'd assume with the energy they have. I don't know. Do you need to rest that much? Do you think it would take that much out of the system, particularly against a team that you might be defending a little bit of a lower block against you? I'm not so sure. Maybe it was just tactical, but it's a pretty sweet option to have to bring into the game.
Sure is. You're probably right in the resting point. Tuesday at home versus Sunday. It's probably not a resting.
Against Atletico, like the type of game it was likely to be. I'm sure it's still very demanding, but it's not. A lot of the time it's been what we're watching now. It's like sort of blocks of red and white and you're trying to play through it.
Yeah. Well, Foden class has made the breakthrough, finished by De Bruyne, so 1-0 Man City. Our football show coverage is brought to you by Sky. Watch every UEFA Champions League and Europa League match live on BT Sport this season. We'll take a short break. I want to chat to you about a few things. League of Ireland latest, Arsenal last night, Unai Emery, interesting interview. The Obafemi situation. Troy Parrott, by the way, scored a very nice goal.
I was just going to say on good goals tonight, and Connor Coventry as well, but Parrott probably 7 days on from Lithuania scoring another one is decent.
Very good. Good touch and then composure, dinked it over the keeper. So he's maybe starting to get into a bit of a groove. And then, of course, Wayne Rooney on Monday Night Football last night. So we'll take a short break, more on the way.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, proud partner and supporter of the Republic of Ireland women's national football team.
This is News Talk. News Talk. Celebrating 20 years on air. 20 years of politics.
Minister of State at the Department of the Environment, Bobby Molloy, has resigned. He contacted the Tánaiste early this morning to tender his resignation.
20 years of rows.
Do you think they're goms in Europe? Do you really think? Are they goms in Europe, Colin?
Codswallop.
Excuse me, you don't have to say the word that's codswallop.
It is codswallop.
No, it's not, Kieran.
20 years of sport.
Well, I think it's a disgrace. I mean, one of the officials has to say that.
I think we'll learn to take it as a country because we've seen a team leave every ounce on that pitch tonight in the Stade de France on our behalf.
News Talk. Celebrating 20 years on air.
We were a fresh young kid on the block as a radio station.
Your next midweek getaway at Killashee Hotel, located just outside Naas in County Kildare and set amidst acres of historic parkland with beautiful gardens and walkways. Spend a day shopping at the nearby Kildare village or perhaps a visit to the Japanese gardens. Pamper yourself at our award-winning spa or enjoy a dip in our hydrotherapy pool. Let our team make you feel at home. Killashee Hotel, the truly special touch. Now part of FBD Hotels and Resorts.
People expect their organisations to support their health and well-being. At Healthy Place to Work Ireland, we help organisations around the country to build, brand and deliver healthy and high-performing work environments.
We are committed to providing a healthy experience for all our people. Version 1 are extremely proud to be certified as a healthy place to work and would recommend this process to any organisation.
Could you be Ireland's next healthy place to work? Start your journey today. Visit healthyplacetowork.ie.
Thank you for filling out your census form. Your census enumerator will soon call to collect it. If you have any queries, visit census.ie or call 0818 202204. Census 2022. Be counted.
Are you an experienced salesperson, target-driven, a self-starter, but looking for a new challenge? At Bauer Media Audio Ireland, we're looking for someone just like you. We're searching for dynamic account managers to join our commercial team. Working with a range of businesses, you'll deliver advertising solutions across an exciting media mix, including on-air, digital and online. If you have an experience in B2B or media sales, and you'd like to work with some of Ireland's biggest radio stations and digital audio brands, then we'd like to hear from you. Find out more and apply now at barramedia.ie/careers.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, all the football you love in one place. Across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.
Now you're welcome back. So still Man City 1, Atletico 0, and in Lisbon 2-1 Liverpool against Benfica. 74 minutes on the clock in both games. Dan McDonnell here in studio alongside me. By the way, ahead of the Republic of Ireland and their World Cup qualifier against Sweden on Tuesday, Off the Ball's own Sheehan has caught up with Lucy Quinn to talk goal scoring, the brilliance of Denise O'Sullivan and much more. Here's a little taster.
What's your best position?
This is a good question.
To be fair, I think I'm slightly better out wider. Slightly better out wider. So whether that be like as a 10 that can float out wide or a winger. Played all over. I just like to be. But yeah, I've played all over. I just like to be in the forward line, linking up play and hopefully get some goals. Yeah, no, I've played slightly deeper. Yeah, no, I've played slightly deeper. It is something that I definitely want to add to my game. It is something that I definitely want to add to my game. Playing in the middle, the older I get, or even. The older I get, a bit deeper back, the slower I get. So yeah, no, that's something slower I get. Being in the middle of the park presents completely different challenges. Your awareness, completely different challenges. Your awareness, your scanning, is completely different. The fitness, is something I'd completely different. So yeah, it's something I'd like to do. But I think my best position would be out on the wing, and I'll let the technicians take care of that.
I was chatting to Louise Quinn about the difference between playing in a back two and a back three, and she says playing in a back two and a back three. She says, as you say, there's more scanning, there's more. You use your awareness. Scanning, there's more. For you, use your awareness. Goal. It's for you far more based on goal. It's
far more based on instinct. When I overthink things in front of goal, when I overthink things in front of goal, every goal I've ever scored in my career, every goal I've ever scored in my career, completely different in my head. Always happens when I watch it back in my head to when I watch it back after the game. I wouldn't change pure instinct, and I wouldn't change that because it's just kind of what your feet do in the moment, or head sometimes. How do you explain it then? What does make a good goal scorer? How do you explain it then? What does make a good goal scorer in those kind of instinctive positions? It's strange actually, I had a similar conversation with in my opinion, yesterday about, in my opinion, you can't teach someone to be a goal scorer. I think it's something that you have. I think you can see it in young players when they have an eye for goal, and they're like, sometimes there's a pass on, and they're like, actually, no, I'm just going to have a shot myself. You can make. So yeah, I think you can make by teaching them movement and awareness, by teaching them movement and awareness, and obviously. But for me, I think you can always see. But for me, I think you can always see. Yeah, that girl's got an eye for goal, and she's going to get some goals.
How do you work on your goal scoring capabilities
at the moment? We do a lot of stuff after training. We do a lot of stuff after training. We do a lot of stuff in groups with maybe movements in the box, with maybe movements in the box, and that's stuff that I really enjoy. Like I'll always be staying out there, last on the training pitch if it's set pieces, dead ball situations, or yeah, like we said, strikers drills, like strikers drills. Yeah, for me, a massive way that I learn. Yeah, for me, a massive way that I learn is watching video footage back of the games. For me, that's benefited me massively. Things that I didn't necessarily see at the time, and that I need to look for next time. Maybe.
It looks completely different to how it felt.
Yeah, massively. So sometimes I will think that I see a gap somewhere when there's not a gap there at all, or I didn't see a player to my left. So I like to watch that back, and then the next time I'm in that situation, hopefully I'll just double check for that one.
You watch other players as well, or is it just yourself that you watch? Other players as well, or is it just yourself that you watch?
Men's football, but also when women's football, YouTube videos. You're always watching YouTube videos and stuff. Someone that I really like to watch is Denise. saying that, but take the mick out of me for saying that, but that you watch on the ball and what they're doing, that you watch on the ball and what they're doing, and massively. Yeah, I think it helps you learn massively. You feel realistic. You're not too far away. Yeah, you feel realistic. You're not too far away from that, and you can kind of use what they do in their game.
So what do you look into? She's not here, so you can say it. So what do you look into when you?
I mean, sometimes I'll just be on the pitch. I mean, sometimes I'll just be on the pitch with her, and I'll just find myself be like running or making like probably should be like running or making like a supporting angle. Players that get on the ball and just players that get on the ball and just ultimately have complete control of all the players around them. Whether it's she's like using her body to shift different ways rather than actually manipulating the ball. To watch. Yeah, it's just fascinating to watch and good little ego. Yeah, she'll get a good little ego boost out of that one.
We don't see it in the games. We don't see it, and what we do see in the games is what are you seeing in training that the rest of us don't see? What are you seeing in training that the rest of us don't see?
In training, it's even more special. Do you know what? In training, it's even more special. Obviously, you're put in certain situations. Obviously, you're put in certain situations drills that maybe we don't get training drills that maybe we don't get to as often. So with her, she's constantly. So with her, she's constantly chipping goalkeepers, creating goals, selling people, creating goals, and then she's got the ability to transfer that into a game. So she can go 90 minutes with a lot of defending work, and she gets that one chance to hit the top corner, and she'll hit it. And I think that's what makes her world class.
Yeah, there you are. So that is Lucy Quinn talking to Owen in advance of the game on Tuesday as Atletico scrambled to clear a De Bruyne shot from off the line. It's a real case of there are 8 Atletico bodies in front of it and one of them gets a toe to it, and Simeone's on the sideline kicking every ball with them. Guardiola heads on his hands. So still 1-0 Man City. That is obviously a big game for Ireland away to Sweden, Dan. However, given Sweden's class and the fact that they're so clearly the best team in the group, there's a degree of shot to nothing about it.
Yeah, there is. I mean, they have that big week in September where they play Finland and Slovakia, and that's really the week. And then I think prior to that, I think they have an away game in Georgia they really should win. I think Georgia are terrible. So like I think there's almost like between now and that big week in September, there's a game you should lose and a game you should win, if you know what I mean. And so yeah, it is a shot to nothing. Anything else better than that is a bonus. And I remember a couple of years back, like they drew with Holland away under Colin Bell, and it was completely backs against the wall, and it was celebrated because it was a step in the road, but it was actually pretty hard to watch. It was just luck, like great brave defending from one perspective, but on the other hand, it was like just trying to just hang in there no matter what. And I think you can. They're trying to do things a little bit more constructively. You hear now from some of the noises about it, so they're going to have to be backs against the wall, but hopefully try and play a bit and come what may. But their year revolves around 1 week in September, and I think that's the reality of it.
Wayne Rooney, Monday Night Football.
Yeah, he was good. I was just saying to you off air, I'm working my way through a documentary on Amazon. I'm only halfway through it. I think the respect for Rooney, or the curiosity about Rooney has to say, and I wonder is a bit of a media thing in some respects, that everyone was like bigging it up almost before he was on, and then maybe it's because people have seen his Sunday Times columns, which were very good, and so there sort of was a sense that it was always going to be good, and like he was good last night, but I mean it wasn't like an amazing, like to me, like an amazing TV performance that sort of changed your life. It was just, is it because people had a low bar for what they expected of Rooney in some respects? Like I don't know, like because he's certain sort of gruff sort of demeanour and image, and some of the stories around him, people assume like he wouldn't be a sort of a constructive sort of speaker in the game or something, which is clearly not the case. Like you've seen his columns, sure he was working with a good ghost and stuff, but still there was opinions within there that were sort of they were drawn out in a way that showed that he had a real ability and intellect to explain his point of views. I thought it was interesting. I didn't catch all of it. The way that people consume TV now, I had it on, and listened to the bits I was more interested in than others. But I thought he came across well. I mean, he's a current manager of a club in a relegation battle, and but I think there's a bit of respect there for the job he's done, because at other times people would be like, what are you doing that?
You can forget he turned down the Everton job.
Yeah, and he spoke about, I thought the bit at the end, more so towards the end, he was speaking about what's your dream job, or words to that effect, and he was like Everton and Manchester United. I'm like, just don't tell me you're going to do it again. You're going to go to Everton and jump ship. Are you clearing the path for that? And it'd be great to have that position, but I thought he's previously explained that quite well, and I think it probably was a wise move too. Like he's gaining a lot of respect, I think, for what he's doing at Derby, and all this helps. Let's be honest, even doing this show and doing the column and everything, it has helped to probably alter an image of Wayne Rooney that existed, which was probably needed, for him there's probably again a certain snobbishness that might exist, that people would always assume that like, well, Lampard will go and be a manager, and certain people, and maybe Rooney, people wouldn't have believed that, you know, and now you're seeing like there's a lot more to his character. He's lived a lot of experiences that have given them a certain perspective, and I mean he comes across quite well. And as I said, the job he's done at Derby has been. I actually would have watched a bit of Derby towards the end of last season, and I actually thought they were struggling a bit. I wasn't sure how good a job he was doing, but actually over time you can see he's doing a much better job there, and that probably backs up the point of not jumping too soon to the Everton gig, as tempting as it would be, because maybe he wouldn't have been ready for it at that time, and he's better off where he is, and it's a little bit more of a plan, almost the opposite of his playing career, where Everton was just thrust upon him at the start. Then you have to get to terms with it. Maybe his management path can plot at a bit more at his own pace, and see where it takes him. Michael
Obafemi is scoring goals at club level.
Yeah, this is one of the things that it's a little bit surprising. I mean, I think he's at 9 goals for the season. They're playing tonight. I don't think he scored. They're 1-0 up there. I checked it a few minutes to go against, I think they're away to Millwall, I think it is. But yeah, I mean, he is one that what I find interesting about Obafemi is that managers have been pretty willing to sort of slate him publicly in a way that other people wouldn't be. Like Ralph Hasenhüttl would have had question marks about him. Russell Martin, his manager at Swansea, would have sort of said things about him that wouldn't have been very flattering, and sort of suggesting maybe just how he needed to work, his attitude off the park or demeanour and stuff, like unusual things. Not like, he needs to improve his finishing or something. It was almost an undercurrent of stuff, more so at Hasenhüttl, at some of his injury problems. Was he helping himself, doing enough to help himself? But he's now all of a sudden at Swansea, he's thriving since Christmas. He scored twice against Cardiff at the weekend, which is a big derby, so like a big game. And I mean, at the moment there's probably no other Irish striker scoring goals in, regularly at that level, to that degree. I mean, Scott Hogan has had a good season at Birmingham, but Swansea are, they're pushing their decent side, and he's doing it for them. And even Martin at the weekend was saying that he's being himself a lot more around the place, and again, it was all character based as opposed to football based, the discussion. I mean, he was good enough to play in the Premier League and score at a very young age, so your guessing ability isn't a problem. It just seemed to be other stuff for whatever reason. I mean, he wasn't in the recent Ireland squad. He effectively, going on what Stephen Kenny said, he turned down the call, but it was because he was worried about his recent injury record, and he needed to, which is true, like he's had fragile hamstrings, and that he needed to mind himself a bit more. But it's got the potential to become a talking point because Kenny did say at that time, I'm not going to lie, or words to that effect, it's not helping his prospects of coming in June if he hasn't come in this time. He's more inclined to probably go with the lads who've been there. I mean, it was Obafemi's decision, it would seem, to check himself out of this. But if he keeps scoring goals at that level, it's going to be hard, I think, for Kenny to leave him out come the summer.
Yeah.
And the ball will be in Obafemi's court to then turn up.
And do we know what's going on here? Because even as just a show of goodwill on his part, he could have come into camp over the last week and said, well, I am conscious of my hamstrings. I haven't played many games in a row. Could I do 20 minutes for you and train away and just learn your system? And we all...
Well, there's a bit more to the backstory as well too, because when he was in the 21s under Kenny, he was always second choice, or he was behind Ida and Parrott and Connolly the couple of times he came in. Then he did do that sort of emoji tweet when he was left out. No, it wasn't an emoji, it was just interesting when he was left out of Kenny's first squad, which is a bit of a mini storm. And it was then deleted. And again, it just like seems like he hasn't always helped himself, off the pitch. But now, if it's true, and Kenny, to be fair, went out of his way to say at the squad, he had a chat with Obafemi. He seems very sincere in his commitment to Ireland. So it may well be the start of a constructive relationship going forward. And if he keeps doing what he does at the weekend, it's going to be hard to ignore.
Yeah, and very useful. Meanwhile, Chidozie Ogbene.
Yeah, I mean, I flicked over just at the right time on Sunday, because I mean, it was actually not a bad weekend for Irish players in the UK, because you had Matt Doherty doing his thing at Spurs, which is sort of sensational really. But I flicked over with 93 minutes gone to see if Rotherham were going to lose this. This is like the EFL
trophy,
the Papa John's trophy, to give it its sponsor laden name.
Papa John.
Yeah.
Rotherham against Sutton.
93rd minute, they looked like they're going to lose 2-1 to a team in the League Two.
Yeah.
And then Ogbene plays a pass. Not, to be honest, it's an assist. It wasn't an amazing moment. Just a pass. Guy scores, goes to extra time. You're like, okay, might see where this takes us. Start of extra time, takes the ball 25 yards from goal and drills it home. And that's not an Ogbene goal. Like, you know, like Ogbene isn't someone who takes it like Stephen Gerrard, like, and drills it in from outside the area. He's more, as we know, you see his Ireland arriving with pace, arriving at the right time. I would have watched him play in the League of Ireland here. People can correct me. I don't recall him being one you think, okay, here he is, 20, 25 yards out. He's going to let one go here.
Limiting Ogbene here.
Well, this is it. I mean, the lesson is don't underestimate him anymore.
I'm glad he shoved your words down your throat.
My non-existent words. This could be clipped in a very unfavourable way.
Yeah.
No, like, and it's just again, it's a bit like, you know, Parrott scores last week and brings it back to club level. But like Ogbene, when you think about it, I mean, for someone whose career has been slow to sort of really gather pace, that in the space of 2 weekends he scores at the Aviva Stadium and then he scores at Wembley. Looks like Rotherham might get promoted, or the strong contenders get promoted, and he's got his contract is up, I think, so he's got options. I know he's got 1 year left, but he's in that sort of sweet spot where if they're not going to give you a good contract, they're going to sell you. He's got a lot going for him, and he's timing it. People are going to be thinking, like, and how Kenny has used him has probably helped him, as opposed to maybe he's playing wing back primarily for Rotherham, whereas Kenny has shown what he can do higher up the pitch in a particular team. So I think for all the broader Kenny debate, and you can argue this and that, the Ogbene one is a pure Kenny's belief in him, because I think I'd be surprised if he would have been capped yet under some other managers, and that's just personal preference. But I think Kenny rated him for a long time and was willing to put him in and have a go, and it's been vindicated.
It sure has. Domestically, Derry are 6 clear at top table. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, they are.
And Stevie O'Donnell is running the Inchicore gauntlet.
He is, and I think I was just checking. I think Bows actually won tonight. Yeah, Bows have won tonight. So there'll be celebrations in, I don't know, various music bars and, you know, media houses tonight, because that's where all the Bows fans obviously reside. Their crisis is over. But yeah, no, Derry are 6 clear, top of the table, and they have a kind run of fixtures coming up where they'd be expected. They've actually played sort of a lot of their rivals and beaten them, including like injury time goals against Shamrock Rovers, against St. Pat's, and against Bows last Friday. So there's something happening there, you know.
To the extent that they are now very much the team who will push Shamrock Rovers.
Oh, 100%. I mean, they are back. Their owner did happen to become a billionaire, which is the chairman, which is helpful, which means that come the summer, if their squad is a bit small, because their big marquee signing was Michael Duffy on a 4-year contract over the winter, and he's broken his leg. So I mean, they'll get resources if they need them.
What wiggle room is there with financial fair play for a billionaire with an Irish club?
Well, it's a problem because there's salary cap protocol there, but it does help that. I mean, he's the chairman. He's the situation is such that really it allows clubs to sort of, if they're running at a loss. I'm not sure if this is the specific case in Derry. I have to say, so we have to be careful, but I mean, there would obviously be directors' loans and stuff there that would allow you. I mean, in certain clubs, and in fairness, Philip Doherty has spoken about this in the past, at the end of the year he will write a cheque to make sure that Derry are covered.
Liverpool 3-1, by the way, just in, so 3-1 Liverpool, which you would think really puts this tie to bed with Anfield to come. Diaz, one of the great signings of this season, and several others on 87 minutes. Because, and I'm not alleging this, by the way, I know this isn't happening in Derry, but so our billionaire friend up there could just set up some shell of a company, signs Dan McDonnell, the potent centre forward that you are, and Dan, you're a part-time footballer for Derry City, you also work for my company where I pay you $2 million a year and give you healthy annual leave to go and pursue your career with Derry.
Like have things like that happened elsewhere and not in Derry, like at a much smaller scale.
The GAA is built on this.
Potentially, yeah. It's like, you know, players who are like, I don't know, listed as groundsmen and stuff, but very much not in Derry, I have to say. But you hear this elsewhere, right? But yeah, they've got a chance. I mean, they've got Rory Higgins, who was a massive part of Dundalk's success. and they've got a lot of the Dundalk players, some of the big Dundalk players. So it's not surprising that maybe they're having a bit of the Dundalk ethos, even with the late goals and stuff. Higgins would be very close to Stephen Kenny, would have been on his staff, and I think they've got a chance of pushing them a fair bit. Steve O'Donnell, I mean, I see Pats are expecting the game is going to sell out potentially on Friday.
Nick's just says it. Of course, the GA was not built on that, which is but it's almost built on precisely the opposite to what I said, to be fair.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, no one obviously.
Managers, though. Managers.
No one gets paid in the GA. We all know that. Just have long journeys in some cases. But traffic was brutal.
Can I give you the goals in League One this evening? Troy Parrott, MK Dons. Connor Coventry, MK Dons. Yeah. Will Keane, naturally.
Yeah.
Of Wigan. Aidan O'Brien of Portsmouth. Kieran Sadlier of Bolton. There you go.
Kieran Sadlier,
I would have said, by the way.
Ask Gavin Bazunu.
I would have said,
that's actually, sorry. Kieran Sadlier, sorry, scored a penalty against.
I was speaking.
Okay, but this is a better point than whatever one you were going to make.
Oh, jeez, that's full Gary Neville.
Kieran Sadlier scored a penalty against Gavin Bazunu tonight in League One. Gavin Bazunu announced himself on the map at 16, saving a penalty at Turner's Cross for Shamrock Rovers from Kieran Sadlier, who was then playing for Cork City. So Kieran Sadlier, years later, is thinking, this kid who saved my penalty a couple of years back has now gone on to play for Ireland and like saving Ronaldo penalties, and Sadlier sticks it in. I like that. I like that sort of symmetry. Okay. Years later they play in a League One stadium and this happens.
Okay.
What was your point? I'm sorry.
No.
It was going to be good, was it?
No. It's gone. Moment's gone.
Well.
No, we'll take ads.
Oh, we'll take it after it.
Me and you're going to have stony silence during this ad break.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, proud partner and supporter of the Republic of Ireland women's national football team.
This is News Talk.
So, you're finally thinking about booking that hotel break, but not sure where to go? Easy. GoBreaks.ie. Short family holiday? Chill get together with friends? GoBreaks will find the best hotel for you from just €75 per night. Choose from hundreds of 3- and 4-star hotels across Ireland. Go explore, go experience with GoBreaks. T's and C's apply. Book your next adventure now at GoBreaks.ie. GoBreaks.
For la perfect bouillabaisse, for le perfect soufflé, and la perfect crème brûlée. The new range of Digitrish ovens all come with state-of-the-art perfect sensor technology. So everything you cook will be parfait. Buy a new Digitrish hob or oven now and get a free 5-year warranty. Digitrish, for cooking, for perfection. See Digitrish at the Cal Advisory Center or visit digitrish.ie.
Are you working in a sector experiencing change? Contact your local education and training board to explore e-college online courses available to you through Skills to Advance. Choose from a range of online courses in digital, programming and business areas to improve your skills or learn new ones and create new work opportunities. Skills to Advance is a national initiative offering highly subsidised reskilling and upskilling opportunities for employees and employers, brought to you by Solus and the Education and Training Boards, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
This is Ireland's new true crime sensation, Unusual Suspects, the #1 podcast in the country.
They load up 7.4 million and drive off with a hostage, and they're gone.
In order to be one of them, you have to be a pathological liar.
You can see the stacks of money bulging through the nylon.
FBI are watching it 24 hours a day.
You can't make this stuff up.
Download Unusual Suspects now on the Go Loud app and all major podcast platforms.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, all the football you love in one place. Across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.
Just on the cusp of full time over in Lisbon, 5 minutes of added time. So it's Benfica 1, Liverpool 3 in that game. And it has gone full time at the Etihad. 1-0 Man City, going to Madrid.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can see Guardiola was very animate in the last few minutes. I mean, obviously there's no away goal factor there. I mean, previously that would have been a great result in a way. You've avoided the away goal, so you score 1 and they need 3. It's not really like that. So I'm just going to have to ride the gauntlet over there.
That is riding the gauntlet. Liverpool have put this tie to bed, presuming it stays 3-1. Very impressive. And so we look ahead to Sunday, which is going to be awesome. Do you have a strong feeling either way, Liverpool or Man City here?
I do. It's towards Man City because they're running. You can see them almost winning every game after Sunday.
And on Sunday.
So they almost need to just... And this isn't their way. I think if they stay ahead after Sunday, I think they have a run. Like Liverpool have to play They play Manchester United in the next couple. And then listen, I know at the moment you'd be fancying them.
They have Everton, they have Spurs, they have some tough games.
They have a slightly tougher run in.
No, they do.
They both play Wolves and Villa, and obviously Gerrard getting involved. You can just see that happening, but you can just see City sort of, have they been sort of checked back into life? Did they get a little bit complacent? If they can get through Sunday, which is an if, I can see them winning all the way to the end of the season. So
it's going to be,
and they have home advantage on Sunday. I think you'd still have to lean that way, but I mean that you're even having the discussion is almost surprising.
Well, it was a 14-point gap in January. Admittedly 2 games in hand, but 14-point gap to be here.
Yeah.
It's amazing to have that. Like it has felt like the last 3, 4, 5 weeks have been counting down to this game.
Yeah.
Here it is on Masters Sunday, Dan, just for you.
Masters Sunday, entry on the Saturday, but then they play again in the FA Cup on Saturday week. Just goes so you can have too much of a good thing sometimes too.
Starting increasing. I mean, I would generally just never back against City. I'm starting to have a slight lean towards Liverpool going and doing it. There's something very business-like about the way they're going through things at the moment.
But I'm trying to think, was it the previous game this season that they played was the one that City dominated for a long period? Just you just know.
Well, the last game
on a good day.
The last game was a bit of a mess because if you remember, James Milner was playing right back, and Liverpool were not in a great place. Klopp is kind of
they were having that slow start to the season, and they couldn't beat Chelsea when Chelsea had 10 men and stuff, doesn't it?
And Milner got killed, and Phil Foden had an extraordinary game, really extraordinary game. So it was actually a great result for Liverpool, the draw. Mo Salah scored the most majestic, glorious goal.
It's coming back now. Yeah.
These games are decided on those moments. That's what makes them so great. Like you wouldn't anticipate either side dominating necessarily. It's just who's going to do something a bit special. Salah looked obviously very flat at the weekend, given everything that he's been through. But he played the season.
You see, you can see City dominated with how they play, but it's more Liverpool striking effectively with what they have. If you know what I mean, they'll probably would be happy for them to have it for spells. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's probably part of it. It's their attacking power that will kill you.
Well, it's live and off the ball, 4:30 Sunday. So obviously we'll be talking about that a lot over the coming days. Our football show coverage brought to you by Sky. Watch every UEFA Champions League and Europa League match live on BT Sport this season. OTB AM coming at you as usual 7:30 tomorrow morning. Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Tom Dunn on the way.
Give him a ball and he out of grass. He'll give you a move for the perfect pass.